We're trying. We're trying to wake people up. 94.3 FM The Talk, a sanity check. Libertarian Lou, Tea Party Mike. Mr. X is on the phone. So X, we were talking a little bit about the Fed pumping money into the stock market. Certainly over the last few days, it's went down a few percentages. And we talked a little bit yesterday, too, also about this whole inflation. You know, what's going on with that. Meat prices are going through the roof. Pork, certainly it's not part of the inflation numbers. I don't quite understand.
The reason it's not in the inflation numbers, Lou, is what they do is they use this principle called substitution. So what happens is if the price of beef goes up, they assume you're going to switch to pork. And then when pork goes up, they say, well, you'll switch to chicken. And then when chicken goes up, they say you're going to switch to beans. I mean, you know, with the way they're going, you know, the next thing you know, you're going to switch from beans to sawdust. And they'll still say there's no inflation. But the scary part about this is, you know, whenever they give inflation numbers, they always strip out food and energy. And those are, you know, those tend to move up and down a little bit more than some of the other components. But what people seem to forget is food and energy is what about half of the bottom 20% of the population spends their money on. I mean, when you don't have a lot of money, it's all about necessity. And, you know, food and energy, getting back and forth to work, you know, feeding your family, that's where a big part of your budget's going to go. So you can understand how in this type of environment that we've had, where beef prices have gone up an average of about 7% every single year for the last 5 years, you can understand how hard it is for most people out there to kind of stretch a buck.
Well, and now what about with this the money being pumped into the stock market? Certainly, we understand it. I mean, how in simple terms, how is that affecting the market, and at least in your estimation, without, you know, unless the Fed continues to pump money, print money, certainly you're thinking it's just going to go stagnant, correct?
Yeah, I mean, we're probably looking at a period of time here, you know, at least for the next 5 years, where basically things are going to go sideways. And the reason for that is, remember, a lot of the corporate balance sheets that are out there, just like individuals have spent, you know, every 2 or 3 years, they've been able to refinance into lower and lower rates and have more money in their pockets. Well, corporations have been doing the same thing, and a good amount of their earnings that they report have actually not been because they're selling more widgets. It's just because they've been able to cut their borrowing costs by such a significant factor. And now that we're at the long end of this game, you know, where we've had, you know, almost close to 3 decades here of falling interest rate prices, that source of revenue for companies is going to completely dry up. So in an example of, let's say, for every dollar worth of profit maybe Walmart makes, maybe 15 cents of it was coming specifically because they were able to roll debt. And that's not going to be there anymore. So now they're just left with 85 cents on that dollar from before because that's played out.